Hey there. So we all know that some kids really struggle with screen time. And it's not just the kids who are struggling with screen time, it's the feeling of when your child doesn't respond to you or listen to you because they're so attached to their screen. And then when you try to take it away from them or you try to redirect them, sometimes meltdowns ensue. Now, this is super common in the field that I'm working, parents raising intense children who might be gifted or have some sensory issues or ADHD or autism. But it's also true in the general population with kids who are strong-willed or more spirited. And there's a lot of neurology behind why kids get so attached and sometimes even addicted to screen time. So you might be tempted to, in a moment of frustration, take the screen away and say, you're just not going to get your phone or your iPad or your computer for a week. And then you find yourself regretting it later because your child badgers you, or they have such an intense fit or meltdown, or they're like following you around the house that you want to just give in and give them their screens back because you're not actually sure how to peacefully transition them so there's a better boundary with screens. That is what we are talking about here today. So if you have a child who is overly attached to screens, there is a really specific system that you can follow to help them develop alternatives, to help them, in a way, agree to have less screen time. But it's not really like they're agreeing. It's more like you're setting a boundary and you're helping them follow through on it. This is really great to let their brain rest and decrease the addiction or the attachment to screens. But what we're finding is that some kids are so intense that trying to limit screens entirely is too big of a leap for you. Maybe you really need them to have screens after school because they're violent, which is a really extreme example, but there's truth there. Unless you have another parent there to help you uphold this boundary, you might not feel comfortable limiting screens. So what do you do when you want them to have less attachment and less time, but you don't want to go through something that feels really challenging because now doesn't feel like the right time to do it when everyone's trapped indoors together with the cold winter weather? Here's what I would suggest. It is important to establish the fact that your child's input matters. When you remove something important from them, like screens, an intense child will feel extremely resistant and want to retaliate against you because they feel disrespected, right? So it's important to have things like family meetings where you talk about, acknowledging that you see that screen time is important to them and they love their games and they love connecting with their friends on their devices. However, that it is also important to practice being together as a family and treating each other fairly. So when you have something like a family meeting where you acknowledge the importance of the screens with your child, that is a first step. The second step is to then establish what behavioral rules you have in your home. If you try to say, this is the expectation of when you will and will not be on screens, and your child isn't used to you having that type of authority or listening to a firm limit, then we need to actually backpedal a little bit and say, you know what, let's come to terms with the fact that there's no yelling at home and there's no hurting at home. When you work on things like family rules for 4 weeks and 6 weeks, and your child sees you being involved and shifting your behavior as well, it actually becomes a precursor that sets you up for success so that you can transition and limit screens in the future because you've developed this dynamic with your child where you've acknowledged what's important to them, what feels unfair to them behaviorally, and now we can take it to that next level. Hey, Kelly, thanks for watching this live video. So if you want more information on how to set family rules, or you've already learned them in the Mad to Glad Blueprint, great. Remember to keep implementing them, taking action, because it puts like relationship credit in the bank where your child has this like mutual trust and mutual respect on something that's not as triggering as screen time. Or if you feel like, I know my kid needs a complete fast from screens, they need 3 or 4 weeks off so we can reset their brain, that is amazing for the families who have not just the courage to do it, but really they're in an emotional space where they're able to do it. Remember, we're not trying to increase any violence at home just by going cold turkey. Even if it can be good for your child's brain, we want it to be easeful and graceful. So if you're looking for a 3-week program to help your child transition off screens, create boundaries and agreements so that you can then build them back in, there is a program that we have online, the Mad to Glad, at madtogglad.com/electronics. It's a 3-week online program. You get immediate access. It's only $47. So instead of going out for dinner one night, if you would like to put that money towards something that will help you connect with your child rather than them being overly attached to screens, come check us out. Have a great day.